friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shaelene and today we are doing my August wrap up. August was a pretty awful reading month for me, and one of the biggest reasons why that is what it was, I ended up fostering a 3-week-old kitten. So this little kitty is the reason why my wrap up was so terrible, isn't it? Yeah, he's being playful. Oh. This is Jelly Bean, by the way. He's about 6 weeks now, so he's so big, aren't you? Look at that dirty little face. You just ate. Say hi to the boob. You're so cute. Yeah, you go play, honey. He was so tiny that I had to stimulate him to go to the bathroom. I was up with him all night long to make sure he didn't poop or pee on himself or he was okay. So I ended up getting hardly any sleep, and anytime I picked up a book to read, I would fall asleep. So it was impossible to read. So instead, I ended up binging a lot of Netflix. So I have some movies and TV shows that are going to be featured on this list. I basically only read 3 books. Really terrible wrap up, but I guess we're just going to jump right into it. I guess we'll just start with the 3 books that I read. So the first book that I read in August was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Initially, I was going to read this back in June, but then I received an ARC for recursion. So I finally got to read this, and I was excited going into this because I thought I was going to love Dark Matter just as much as Recursion, as everybody says how amazing Dark Matter is. Oh my god, it's so great. One of the best books. This is a very twisty story. You know, it's filled with that signature Blake Crouch kind of science, thriller, extra dimensions, physics kind of vibe that he gets going on, which I absolutely love. Like, I love his books because of that. I liked the story. I really liked Jason as a character. I really felt for his struggles. But I didn't love this book as much as I loved Recursion. There was just not enough science-y stuff going on for me to absolutely love it. And I know it sounds a bit crazy because, like, throughout most of the novel, he's literally in different dimensions, in different worlds, but I feel like Recursion is just on a whole nother level compared to Dark Matter, and I think I personally prefer Recursion so much more. Like, Recursion had me at the seat of my pants the entire time I was reading it, and yeah. And I feel like the plotting overall is a lot better in Recursion as well. So yeah, like, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't love this as much as I loved Recursion. Like, I was fully expecting this to be like a 4 or 5 star read, and it ended up being a 3.5. It just didn't quite make the mark for me. Maybe if I read this before I read Recursion, I would have, like, you know, I would feel what I feel for Recursion, but with Dark Matter. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where if you read an author's work first, you end up preferring the first work that you read from them, kind of thing. I don't know. But yeah, I think I will reread it and give it another shot because I read this very broken up and sporadically because I just didn't have time to read. And I actually couldn't stay awake while reading anything. So the next book that I read was The Girl the Sea Gave Back by Adrienne Young. This was an ARC. I have an entire ARC video review that's spoiler free up about this book. This book is actually out now, so you can go ahead and buy it wherever you buy books. I gave this one a 4 star. If you want to see more of my thoughts on it, you can go to that video. I'll have it linked in the cards and in the description. So the last book that I read this month was Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. This is an origin story for the Sea Witch, Ursula, and the Little Mermaid. I was expecting a lot more of this book to actually take place under the sea. It does not. So basically we follow our main character, Evie, who is a witch. She is like best friends with this crown prince called Nick. She's also in love with his cousin called Iker. And basically the story with those three is a few years before their best friend Anna drowned in the ocean. Things have never been the same, and then one day a beautiful girl that bears a striking resemblance to their friend Anna comes ashore and she immediately befriends Evie. Evie sees that she has magical powers and basically learns that she's a mermaid. Evie questions whether or not her friend Anna is actually the mermaid. Her friend, which is called Miette, she says, you know, no, I've always been a mermaid, blah blah blah. And then very predictable things happen. Basically this mermaid has come ashore. She has gained legs for 4 days, but in order to keep her human form she has to find true love's kiss. And if she doesn't, she turns to sea foam. And of course she's in love with Nick, who she rescued only a few days prior from drowning. It's told in like 2 different perspectives. First we get the perspective of Evie, and then we get flashbacks like 4 years, and then eventually we get Miette and her perspective, which is in the form of a flashback. So yeah, this book really wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I literally thought it was going to be taking place under the ocean and yada yada yada. We're getting more sea witch. You don't get anything involving anything under the sea or involving a sea witch until the very last chapter. So yeah, this did not satisfy my need for a mermaid book or an under the sea mermaid kind of retelling. I think the second book will probably be more suited to what I'm looking for. I think this first book very much is a setup for the second book in the series, Sea Witch Rising. So I think if I read Sea Witch Rising, I'll have more of what I'm looking for in that book. So I ended up giving this a 3 stars, maybe a 2.5. I thought a lot of the stuff that happened in this was very predictable. It was kind of average. I didn't particularly love it, didn't particularly hated it. I think it was just like, you know, one of those easy, quick kind of junk foody reads. I am going to read the second book though, because again, I feel like that one will be better suited to what I actually wanted to read in the first place. So we're going to move on to all the movies and TV shows that I watched. The first TV show that I watched was on CBC's Gem app here in Canada. This is Loch. This is basically about a serial killer in a small Scottish town. The serial killer is definitely not someone who you expect in the story, which I really liked. I really did enjoy this. I think there was like 6 or 8 episodes. It was pretty easy to blow through when you have like time to waste. I actually really enjoyed this one. And then I watched Bourne to Kill. This is about a teenager who doesn't really know his father, finds out his father was actually a murderer. And he is kind of, you know, got that family gene, and he ends up murdering people, which I found this story to be really good. The acting in it is so great. The actor that plays the teenage serial killer is really good. I ended up enjoying this quite well. Again, this was on CBC Gem. Really good. Really recommend it. Next, I watched ARQ. A-R-Q. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. But basically, this is a story about this couple. It's set in a futuristic kind of world, and they are living the same morning over and over and over again, and they kind of have to fight off these invaders. And yeah, it gave me Blake Crouch vibes, so I really liked it for that. It was a little bit repetitive, but it was still an overall good movie. So the next TV show I watched, actually binge watched with my sister. We watched the first season of this like way back in the beginning of the year. Loved it. The second season came out, Derry Girls. Oh my god, this show is so freaking hilarious. I needed way more than 8 episodes. This is my kind of comedy. Oh my god, it was hilarious. Basically, this follows a group of schoolgirls in Ireland, Catholic all-girls school, except there's like one guy going to the Catholic girls school. It's weird, but it's hilarious. God, it's so funny. Another TV show, I know there's a lot of TV shows on this list, but My Mad Fat Diary. I watched this on CBC Gem for anyone in Canada that wants to watch it. Basically, this follows the story of a teenage girl, Ray. She has mental illness. She's also really struggling with her weight, and it's set in the 90s in Lincolnshire. I absolutely adored this show, and there's 2 seasons of this, and I like, oh god, they could have made 8 seasons and I would have binge watched it all. This was such a good show. It was so good. It dealt with a lot of really great topics, and I really kind of connected with it, and I just loved it. I loved Ray as a character. I loved her friend group. Like, everything about this was great. I absolutely adored it. So the next movie that I watched is called Room. This is on Netflix. Basically, this girl was abducted, and she is kind of put in this here shed that's a room. She's repeatedly raped. She ends up giving birth to a boy. Once he reaches 5 years old, they kind of plot their escape from the room, and then they deal with the after mental effects from being in isolation and being locked up and abused like that for so long. So oh man, this was a heavy movie. Man, it was really sad, especially with the inclusion of, you know, a child so young. Like, it was really heavy. It was really sad. So yeah, but I also really enjoyed it. It was really great acting. I actually really recommend that one if you're as twisted as me and watch a lot of dark stuff. So one of the last movies I watched was with my sister. It's called The Hustle. This is Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson in it. Basically, these 2 women, they are con artists and they con people. One of them's of a higher caliber than the other, and the other one's kind of just like a low-level kind of criminal. So they end up teaming up together to do some scamming, and then they end up competing against one another to do some more scamming. It's actually a pretty hilarious movie. I really enjoyed watching this. It was pretty funny. So the next show that I watched was called Altered Carbon. This is actually based on a book, but I heard that the book is pretty sexist and gross. So I opted for the TV show instead, and I actually enjoyed the TV show probably more than I would the book. Yeah, this is basically very science fiction, futuristic heavy. Basically set like way far in the future. People are able to re-sleeve themselves, which basically means that you can store your brain / subconscious onto this here disc and put it into basically any body you like. This leads to a very classist system, and this really rich guy that's also quite old gets murdered, and he hires this here kind of like ex-con who killed a lot of people and was a part of this war to figure out who killed him. And it's quite an interesting story. It's actually quite violent in places. There's a lot of nudity and whatnot. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit, and I believe they are making a 2nd season. So I am pretty excited to see what the 2nd season will be about. And the last TV show that I rewatched was called Tidelands. I watched this back in December, and I had a hankering to watch it like ever since. This is such a good show. I really hope they make a 2nd season. This is about a small coastal community with a lot of drug dealing. There's these people called Tidelanders, and basically they're half-breeds. They are both human and sirens, so they can breathe water. I really enjoyed this. Such a good show. So that's pretty much my wrap-up. I watched a heck of a lot of TV. So yeah, if you guys enjoy this, you can go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter. All my links will be in the description below, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!